everybody, to Positive Connections Radio and HALT and Call for Backup. Today, we're honored to welcome someone whose story reflects both the immense challenges and the powerful resilience found within the first responder community. His name is Erik Smith, and Erik is a veteran of the fire service, having spent 30 years of public service, 17 years with the Meridian Fire Department in Idaho. And like many who have served the front lines, he has faced the hidden wounds of the job, specifically the impact of post-traumatic stress. After completing treatment for PTSD at the Center of Excellence in Maryland, he began an active journey of recovery, one that hasn't been without setbacks. His ongoing struggle with alcohol has affected his personal life and marriage, but also brought him to first responder wellness. And he is an alumni. I'm very stoked to have him on our show today. And since completing the program at FRW, he's maintained his sobriety and shifted his focus towards helping others. Today, he runs a nonprofit organization called the Calm Seas Foundation, which supports veterans and first responders in their healing journey. Everybody, please welcome Erik Smith, goes by Smitty. Welcome to HALT and Call for Backup, Erik.
Thanks, Mike. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. Thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about, let's go back. I know you very well because I was working when you came into FRW, and it was quite an experience. You've made such great progress, and you're giving back now. What first drew you to the fire service, and how did your career evolve into where you're at right now, giving back to the community?
I haven't thought about that in a long time, what drew me to the fire service. And at the time, I didn't really know why. I thought it was cool. Like, that looks fun and awesome, and I want to do awesome things. Later on, I kind of realized it genuinely was about helping people and being of service and being of value. Providing a service and helping people is truly rewarding for a lot of us. And that was really my motivation in hindsight to get into it and to stay in it and make a career of it. I just love the work.
When did it start getting too much? Like when did if you had anxiety, depression, PTS, when did those things start spiraling for you? You remember?
I do. When I reflect on things, it would have been like maybe 5 years ago-ish. One of my guys died on duty with me, and that experience was significant because, watching him die, doing CPR on him, and then covering his body up with the flag that I sent my guys back to my station to pull the flag off the flagpole, brought it back. We covered him with that. And then we did the whole vigil thing and sat beside him for ultimately ended up being like a week until he was interned. And that really, I noticed after that, my drinking really took off. Clearly, I was having feelings that I didn't understand and didn't know how to deal with. We had lost other people before. I'd seen plenty of people meet their end. But that one just hit me differently. And my drinking really, really stopped being a social thing and started being a solitary thing. That was the point where it went from being part of the culture of the public service, where when you get together, you get shithouse drunk. It shifted and it became when I was alone, I'd get shithouse drunk. And that's really the catalyst I noticed of when it changed. And through that, I kind of maintained this thought that I deserved it. It was okay for me to drink because, I was doing a super manly job and seeing tough stuff. And that's just what we do. It was part of our culture. And so I figured, yeah, it's cool. It's not a big deal. I'm in control. I can stop anytime I want. And I would do that. I'd go through 30 days of not drinking. And I thought that proved that I don't have a problem because I can not drink for 30 days. It just meant I had a lot of self-discipline, so I could not drink for 30 days, but I wanted to drink the whole time. And as soon as 30 days was up, I was like,
Count
do
it
this.
in.
And then I'd get just knackered for, a long time. The other big problem with it was I was married at the time, and my wife was wonderful as far as being supportive. She genuinely wanted to help me. she didn't know how, because she couldn't. She didn't have the keys to any of my problems. And of course, that is what started the marriage down the path, what ultimately led to her leaving me. So that was how it began, and that's kind of how it evolved. And it turned into, it was that drinking snuck up on me that in the beginning I thought it was normal and it wasn't a problem. And then, like I presume a lot of us do, I got to a point where I looked back and I knew, like, shit, like this isn't cool. I never got in trouble at work. I never got a DUI. I didn't have any sentinel event that so many people do that causes them to make a change.
Well,
But I
what was it?
started.
What was it? What happened when you finally discovered that, hey, I got a problem, I need to get it fixed?
It's a hard story, but I'll tell it.
Well, there you go. You got the floor, brother.
The first time I went to treatment, I was ashamed that I had a drinking problem. And I knew I had a PTSD problem because that had been diagnosed and I was on medication for it. And that was legit. I still didn't believe it in my heart, but I believed the people I loved and trusted were telling me I had this issue. So I said, oh, well, I must have this issue. But I didn't give it any thought. I just wanted to get better and get my shit back together, go back to work and have everything be the way it was. I just wanted to, like, ignore the problems and be okay. So I went to treatment the first time. That program really differentiated. They had a mental track and a addiction track, or substance abuse track. And so as a client, you got to kind of say which one you were. And so, of course, which one did I choose? I said, well, I've got the mental track. I'm not a drunk.
That sounds
And
familiar.
yeah. And so during that time, I completely turned my back on the fact that alcohol was a significant problem. And I looked just at the PTSD stuff, and I learned a lot. I came back from that, and within 30 days, I was drinking again because I didn't really think that was the big problem. In hindsight, my opinion now is that if you have PTSD issues, you can't drink at all. Like, any amount of alcohol is just going to make it worse. And if you choose to, like, okay, I've got problems, PTSD, I'm going to drink a little bit. Like, okay, dude, that's not helping you, but whatever, you do you. But I couldn't stop drinking then. I'd been drinking for so long, so I started hiding it. And I became that guy who would, drink in the garage. So I'd disappear into the garage and pretend I was doing something and get knackered every single night. Ultimately, that was becoming a problem that was just in stasis. The wife at the time was just found a way to tolerate me. I found a way to just get by, and I was just living day to day in a lot of pain, emotional pain, and I felt alone, and I felt full of shame, and all of that stuff that people talk about. I had always looked at suicide as disgusting. When somebody I knew, when there was a suicide, I had a sense of outrage and disgust that somebody would do that. I saw it as a permanent solution to a temporary problem, all those things. And so I would tell people, yeah, I would never do something like that. That's not me. But I've got a drinking problem. I got these other issues. One day I was sitting in my bathroom, and I lived in the basement because nobody wanted to be around me. I started debating whether a buckshot or a slug was a better way to go. Everybody, if you're a gun person, you understand what I'm talking about. So I decided a ounce and a quarter slug at 2,800 feet per second. That was the solution. But I didn't put much thought into it. I took this really cool Beretta 1301 that I had that I just bought, really nice shotgun. Threw a slug in it, racked the slide, put it underneath my nose, reached down, pressed the trigger. I didn't give it that much thought. I just did all that, and nothing happened.
Wow.
I think, as it turned out, I had bumped the safety on or something. I don't know. I don't care. Fact is, nothing happened. Strangely, I didn't have any emotional response to that. I was like, interesting. Well, I'm not doing that. And I walked upstairs and I talked to my wife at the time, and I didn't tell her what I had just done.
Right.
But I told her I was scared. I knew she was considering leaving me. And I said to her, like, if you leave me, I'm afraid I'm going to kill myself. She didn't know what I had just done, but I was like, oh shit, man. I don't know if I'm going to get through that.
Yeah.
And her response to me was, you can't do that. You have to be here for your children. You have to be here. I had a daughter and a son who are young, 7, 8 years old. So the wife said, like, think of your daughter. Like, you can't do that for her. And I replied to her, I said, my daughter's not enough. She's not enough. She doesn't, I think about her. I love her, but it doesn't stop this fear and this feeling. And unfortunately, my daughter had heard this because she was standing right behind me. And I heard her gasp and start crying. So I turned around and realized I had just said these things in front of my daughter, and that's not what I wanted. That was the moment that I decided that this path, if I stayed on it, would be the end of me. And in that moment, I decided I want to live. And I decided that I can't do this alone. I need to do something intense and professional. And I realized I was in for now the fight of my life.
Yeah.
And that it was going to require all of my aptitude and ability combined with the resources of professionals who know what they're talking about, instead of me just fucking making stuff up. So when I first came to FRW, I was resistive to all that, like full of shame and full of just all that.
Were you a little resistant too when you went to FRW? Did you have a little resistance in you, or were you ready? Did you know that you were ready? You had to do something with your life, because is it either that or the alternative of, taking your own life possibly?
Well, the truth is it was both, man. It was like, I knew, like, if I keep drinking, I'm dead. I'm absolutely going to die. I don't want that. Yet at the same time, I still had all the emotions that a guy has that feels like he's all fucked up. I was full of shame. I looked at everything as my fault. I made everything about me. That's probably been one of the biggest things I've learned in recovery is it's not all about you, in a positive, like in a good way. It doesn't mean what I thought it means. And so, yeah, that brought me to the place where I was still grumpy, but I also knew I had to change.
Yeah.
I also figured out that there's no finish line. There's no like, oh, cool, I'm good now. It's like, okay, you're a little better, but it requires daily work. It requires daily intention and direction, and you can never let your guard down, which is why I've chosen to part of why I've chosen to devote the rest of my life to serving people just like me, because it helps me. It's everybody wins.
Yeah. What do you think was a little bit different from first responder wellness than the other treatment program that you went to that kept you going on this track after you left?
It was interesting. I almost had this, like, I'm voluntary. I want to be here. I'm not being compelled to be here by anyone or anything. I'm not under threat of discipline at work or something like that. But when I got there, I still didn't want to be there, even though it's where I knew I wanted to be. I wanted to get my rubber stamp of like, okay, you're healed, get out of here. So I would, have a session and I'd be like, oh, holy shit, I've learned so much. I'm good. Hey, everybody, so I'm healed. I'm out.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Do you think something was more unique about first responder wellness than other programs that you have experienced before?
Absolutely. I mean, I do credit first responder wellness with saving my life. First responder wellness had the location felt good. Being in Newport Beach, California, it's warm, it's sunny, it's a beautiful place. There's palm trees, there's beaches and sand. There's a reason people go to recovery centers in nice places. There was obviously the biggest thing was the cultural competence of the staff, because I've never met Dr. Odom, but I can see the results of his leadership in the people he hires and in the culture he's created. And what that culture that I see is cultural competence within the police officer, firefighter, first responder world. Not the least of which is that my perception was the majority of the clinical staff either had a background in it or were somehow close to public service. So I felt that they understood what I was talking about. I felt like I didn't need to explain the graphic bullshit, because it's really irrelevant.
Right. Exactly. That's why
The location, the cultural competence, and then I think the final part, well, the next part was the clients, because the clients were all people that I felt like they were vetted, so there was no like dipshits in there.
Right.
They were people who were legitimate firefighters, police officers, and some military dispatchers, etc. But I felt that they were all people that were professionals and they were there for genuine healing. There are places you get a mix of clients, other places you get staff that doesn't really give a shit. It's just a job. And FRW didn't, wasn't like that. And then finally, what FRW had is just a feeling and an atmosphere that made me feel safe. And it made me feel like I can just
Let it out.
relax, let it out, and truly engage in the conversations, the exercises. There was no talk about how long you're going to be here. It was genuinely just about healing. And that the location, cultural competence, the staff, and then just that energy in the place saved my life.
Awesome. And you did the work, it's about doing the work too. We can give you all the information possible. We can give you these suggestions. We can give you these tools. But if you're just counting the days down, the chances are that's all you're doing. And that's all you're learning is how to count days. And I think that a lot of us go into it and we don't trust, right? We have this control complex about us. First responders do. I did. And you have to look at that, and we don't have patience. We think we can fix this all overnight or in a couple of days. And then when we find out that, hey, they don't want anything from me. They want me to heal. Dr. Odom is sort of like the man behind the curtain. He was in the front lines for many years at FRW, doing this with everybody. And he's put together such a great team and the whole leadership too, where we're there to help you if you're willing to help yourself. Right.
I think, the kind of part of the vibe I got there was just that, like, they didn't give a shit about making money is how it felt, because it felt like they weren't making a lot of money. It felt like they were just getting by enough to get you the care, to get you a place to stay. I mean, I didn't feel like a client. I felt like I was with a family that actually gave a shit about me. And that sounds so corny, but it's really the truth. That I felt like I was genuinely amongst people who were like me, who genuinely cared about me. There was no finish line. It was just a healing environment. And the other thing that one of the staff members there was kind of famous for saying was, when you leave FRW, it's just beginning. It's not over. If you leave and just go back to your same old circles of friends and ways of thinking and etc., that 30, 45, 90 days that you spend at FRW or in any treatment is just camp. It becomes like, oh, that was a nice footnote in my life. However, it has not created any lasting change. And I felt that what I saw in some people was they get there and they're so happy to have some connection. I'd love to talk more about connection later on. They were so happy to have some connection that FRW or any of these places became about sitting around the campfire and being buddy-buddy with the other clients, which is wonderful. And I think that has a great place. But my opinion was, so many people, that was kind of the whole focus of the thing. When I would listen to clients that would rock out or graduate, they would talk about the connections and the friendships they had made while they were there. And they would talk, it was like high school yearbook signing of like, oh, get me your number, we're going to be friends forever. Get me your number, we're going to be friends forever. And I'd always say, bullshit. Like maybe some people do that, but certainly not me, whatever. And so I would tell people like, hey, the time around the campfire is awesome. That's great. That ain't why you're there. Like, you're there to have a safe place, to escape your stressors, and then do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Do the journaling, the gratitude journal. You got to actually do it. You got to actually develop a personal practice of the things that are going to move you in the right direction. And it would break my heart when I would see people put too much emphasis on just friendship and connection, because you leave and you go back to your same old world. God forbid you go back to the same job. And, I know a lot of people don't get the results. Yeah. And I think it's because they treat it like camp instead of like a transformative event.
Yeah, some people do, and some people aren't ready. We get in that environment and we become, with our peers, we get new friendships. And yeah, sometimes it could be like leaving high school. Like, I'm going to get a hold of you. We're going to have a great summer together. And you never hear from them again for 20, 30 years. And it's up to you, showing up for yourself. That's the important piece of this, is that it's like you did, right? So you didn't just disappear and then like not call anybody. You continued to come back. You come back on a Wednesday or Saturday mornings and you'd show up, right? We knew we kept in contact because you kept in contact. And that's the huge thing. And look at you now, where you're going now with everything.
Erik, they have that phrase, fake it till you make it. And a lot of people go through that.
It's my life.
Is it? A lot of people go through that when they go into, treatment and recovery. And was there a pivotal moment in your journey at First Responder Wellness when it changed from, I'm here, don't want to be here, but I'm here, to I want to be here and I'm thirsting to learn?
Honestly, those big cognitive changes in me happened after. They happened after from my experience, the time at FRW was a critical care thing. It was the equivalent of somebody putting their arms around you, giving you a hug and saying, dude, stop, shut the fuck up for a minute. Just stop when you're frantic, when you're out of control. It felt like somebody just holding me and saying, stop. And I kept wiggling. And then when I finally stopped wiggling and started to say like, okay, then I was able to start learning. And the biggest changes in me honestly came after FRW, as I started getting back out in the world and succeeding on my own. Then I started seeing like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I can fucking do this. It was when I came out of the nest and, started walking on my own. And it was FRW. They're the ones who gave me that hug and got me to just stop, look outside myself, accept the possibility that the things I'm telling myself are wrong, are not true. Wrong's the wrong word. One, they're not true. And two, I have a choice to not talk shit about myself and instead love myself. And it was when I got out in the world, I saw that work. And like you said, Mike, part of what FRW provided for me is I retired when I was in the program. That was not planned, and it wasn't the optimal way to go into retirement, but it's the way it happened. I just did the Irish goodbye. I just quit going to work. And all the guys I worked with, like, now I'm this strange story because, like, yeah, remember Smitty? He like just disappeared. So it's kind of, in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a cool way to retire. Just
Yes.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's so a lot of the journey really started when I got out of there.
Mhm.
But at FRW, because they have, you guys have the Saturday meetings, which is a little bit of alumni come, but it's mostly the people who are in the program. That was so helpful for me because it was a chance to stay connected. It was a chance to reflect on where I was, and I could look at where I am now. And it was a way for comparison is the thief of all joy. And it's still something we do. I was able to see like, oh, wow, I see where that person is. And I remember that. I remember those feelings. And I've passed through that because I think the passing through is the secret. The secret to success, my secret to, I'm very, very, very happy with my life and very grateful now. Every day I wake up, it's literally the best day of my life. And
Love that.
it's because of the suffering and the pain that my greatest sorrow in reality has created unbelievable joy. And that's from going through it, which is why I kind of don't like when somebody says, oh, well, I just look forward to the campfires and this or that. It's like, no, man, you got to go through it. You've really got to acknowledge how you feel about yourself. Nowadays, when I see somebody hit their absolute low point, if they survive, I say to myself like, oh, dude, maybe that was the low point because now it just gets better from here. But you got to go through it.
And I
Oh, yeah.
suggest that you take your program of recovery daily. And I love how you come back to the groups and to the newcomers and the people that are just going through it. And you have always been just so open. And I love how you say, be prepared when you leave here. Be prepared for the outside world because it's not a joke, right? It's going to be all in your face, right?
It's going to suck.
Yeah. And then you can get through it.
And you can get through it. It's that, so much of the culture at FRW was the whole, like, you guys made stickers that said, like, we do hard things, and there was this wonderful story behind the sticker and the logo. And it's true. It's only by doing the hard thing that you recover. It's only by facing the fear, by facing yourself and accepting it and moving through the suffering, I think is the key to transformation.
You mentioned earlier you thirsted for connection. Connection was important to you. How so? Could you tell us the story with you and connection?
Yeah. I to paraphrase what I've learned or somebody told me was, what's the opposite of addiction? And I used to think, well, it's sobriety. I learned that the opposite of addiction is connection. That when I was living in addiction, I couldn't have a connection with anybody because I was lying about who I was. I was lying about how I felt. I was drugged. It wasn't me. And I carried around all these cognitive distortions about shame and worthlessness and being accountability morphed into responsibility for all problems, which isn't good. And I think you can't find connection when you're living in addiction. It just doesn't work that way. So the opposite of addiction is connection, and getting sober and then leaning hard into finding connection. There's three things that define connection for me. One is connection with other people, just other people. They don't have to be like me. They don't have to have had the careers I've had, but just connection with other people that's honest. Two is connection with myself, of knowing, accepting, and loving who I really am. And that starts with figuring out, who the fuck am I? Especially when I did this career for 30 years, I'm like, oh, well, that defines me. No, it didn't. But so connection with self. And then I think the last thing is connection with the universe, connection with the world around us. That I believe that getting out in nature and being connected to that which is real in this world of electronic entertainment, getting out and experiencing nature in an intentional and transformative way is also connection.
But Smitty, I love that. I love all that. And you are 100% correct about connection. And you've done it too by not only working on your own recovery, figuring out that connection is key, getting close to people when you don't really want to, being comfortable in the most uncomfortable times in your lives instead of running away from it. Change does not happen in comfort. We've heard that before. So we have to do hard things, and face that storm because it's going to pass us, right? And you've done it. You've encapsulated it too, because now tell us a little bit about the Calm Seas Foundation. I want to get to that too, because I think what you're doing is really great, and you're maintaining that connection and you're passing it on to others, saying it's okay to do these fun things and go out and be, tell us about it. Tell us about what's going on.
Yeah. I've always, like early in our conversation, I said, I have a servant's heart. What genuinely, I like to connect with other people. And I genuinely, my highest calling is love and expressing that love to other people by helping them. And it's so true. And after a long career, and then I healed, I started the path of healing and I got out and like, okay, I'm retired. Now what? I realized I still want to help people. I still want people to heal. And I realized I can help other people like me. So at Calm Seas Foundation, what we do is we take people on ocean voyages. First responders is the target audience. We have you come down and meet us on, we've got a 46-foot sailing yacht, and come down and we go sailing. Sometimes it's individuals, sometimes it's groups, up to like eight. I mean, I can take like a dozen people. We get out, we don't have a script, we don't have a plan, but every single time I've done it, and I've done it a lot, we get out in the ocean and I can always find dolphins, and something about the wind pushing the ship through the waves and the dolphins jumping and the power of the ocean. I've found it to be transformative for myself, and I'm not unique. There's a lot of people that I've taken out who they see something like I see. And I find that it helps. And the people I've taken to see have contacted me months, in some cases years, because I've been doing it for a bit, after the fact, and they've said, "You saved my life." That was the mustard seed that I needed to link what I've done in my head to the universe, to the world out there. And that in the moment of going to sea and sailing in this time of healing, it's not a crisis intervention mode. It's drying the glue. That became that tangible point they could held on to. So when somebody else later asked them, "Where did your healing begin?" they say, "When I went to sea with Smitty." And when I heard that, I knew this is now my calling.
And you love the sea anyway. I mean, you've been in boats probably all your life, and you love that ocean. We all are, right? Jim, lifeguard. I love the ocean too. I love surfing all the time, and I think there's some calming effect of it too, especially taking people out there, and they might have never had that kind of experience before. Maybe they've done whale watching or been on a boat or whatever, but it's just to go out there and not have a plan, really. I mean, I know you have a plan, of course, because you have to navigate everything, but just to go out there and just enjoy the universe, enjoy the whole area and the whole ocean, the vast ocean.
And it's unique in that, given my experience and my background, I have an intention that I set. I have an energy that I try to cultivate when we're out there. So it's a purposeful voyage. It's not a boat ride. It's a lifeline. And it varies. I've taken guys on 4-hour day sails out of LA, which is magical. And I've crossed oceans with first responders, and depends on how much time you got, but it's all good, and it works. I'm very grateful to be doing it.
How do people find your information? This is a nonprofit, Calm Seas.
So the Calm Seas Foundation, I started off doing it pretty informally. I had a fishing boat that I run out of Dana Point and here in Southern California, and I'd take people out, whether it was fishing or just going out in the ocean. I found a lot of value in getting out in the middle, getting pretty far offshore, and then stopping the boat and saying like, "Okay, time to jump in." Most people are like, "Fuck you, I'm not doing that." Like we're 10 miles offshore. I can't even see land, and you want me to jump in the ocean? Like, that's terrifying. And it's kind of cool though, because obviously nobody has to do anything. I've never had somebody not do it, and I feel it's a wonderful piece of evidence for the fact that when you go face your fears, and the ocean is a powerful place, and there's a certain degree of innate trepidation I think it causes for almost all of us. And so when you go out and you face that fear and you jump in the ocean and you come out, it's a low risk way of facing a powerful fear and taking an act of stepping into it. Because then you come out, and I've found many, many people have said to me, "I didn't realize I don't want to die until I was scared," because being scared served as that little bit of evidence for me of like, hey, wait a minute. If I was afraid, well, that means I don't want to die. And I think it fits with that thing then of it's a way of helping people see, I don't want to die. I just don't want to feel the way I feel now. Like, okay, cool. Then let's use the right solution. That's part of the many things about why I feel it's transformative. So to answer your other question about like how people can join me on a voyage or learn more about it, I was doing this informally, and now I've decided to go all in. So I'm a California nonprofit 501c3. The social media like Instagram, it's all Calm Seas Foundation. So on any of the social media, if you just search Calm Seas Foundation, the website is calmseasfoundation.com, and you can get in touch with me through email, through our DM, through any of that stuff. And the voyages are whatever they need to be. There's no this day, that time. It's what do you need? And we figure it out. And we get people together and we do it as a group. So yeah, I can be found on the media, on social media, internet, Calm Seas Foundation.
He's all
Just
over
reach
the
out
place.
to me.
What advice would you give a fellow first responder, firefighter, cop, medic, dispatcher? What advice would you give them if they felt like they're drowning right now and they're afraid to speak up?
Sink or swim. Because one of the two is going to happen. And I would say to somebody who's in it, nobody else can do it for you. It's fucking hard. And you think that studying for promotion was hard or recovering from an injury was hard. Those were just getting you ready for this. It's hard. And it's worth it. The advice I would give somebody is you've got to do the work. And it sounds so silly to say that, but in my journey of recovery, I saw so many people who didn't really work that hard at it. They'd go to the meetings, they'd do the stuff, but they wouldn't. And they would sit there and shit talk themselves, and they would just stay stuck in their own bullshit. And the advice I give is this is the fight for your life, and it's hard. It's not easy. You got to do the journaling. You got to read the books. You got to work hard at it. When you, I would say, go to a program like FRW, find something to hold you so that you can just catch your breath and start moving forward. I would say you got to go through it. You got to face it. You got to be honest. You got to just absolutely go through it. You got to quit hiding from the pain and the shame, and you got to face it. You got to sit down and look at it. And then you got to listen to that little truth in the back of your mind. There's a little thing back there that tells you, this is all bullshit. You're a fucking good dude. You can fucking do this. That's where you got to put your energy. That's what you got to focus on because it's back there. I think for everybody, it's there. It's a soft, quiet voice. But that's where you have to put your energy because we create our own reality. That which we give our focus to becomes our reality. That which we say becomes real. I'm not going to get into religion or metaphysics, but if you start listening to the possibility that you're beautiful and that you're worthy of love and you have love to give, and you put all of your focus and energy in that, instead of feeding the bullshit.
Sort of like philosophy 101 here, right?
Yeah, dude. It's not that. It's
who you feed, right? What beast are you going to feed? The good beast?
Yes.
The beast that's going to tear you apart.
And something I've noticed, like social media, everybody wants to take a piss on it. There's also a lot of good stuff out there. There's also a lot of people that have very helping and useful stuff. Awesome. You lean into that. And the stuff that doesn't serve you, you got to have the discipline to say, not even looking at that.
A factor fish fiction. It's a weakness though to ask for help. I'm struggling here, but I'm a first responder. I could deal with this. This is what I'm trained to do. Who else is going to take care of everybody else? Everybody's going to look at me differently. I'm not going to be accepted anymore.
Okay. Well, and you're going to die. So whatever. Stuff like, I'm not going to tell you it's not true. It's true if you believe it. I believed all that shit. And anybody who told me like, oh, that's not true, you're actually a flower, fuck off. The fact of the matter is you're in the fight of your life. And all of those feelings, those are real feelings. You have them. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, that's not true. You're wonderful. Like, that's how you feel.
Yeah.
And you got to go through that. You got to face that, lean into it, dig into it, go through it, whatever that fucking looks like. Because if you stay in that place and you don't ask for help, you're probably going to die. So,
Yeah. Well,
that don't serve you.
you have to get over those things too. I mean, look at it as a strength. If you look at things as a strength and a positive, you're going to start, looking at everything more in a positive than a negative, and just giving up and not getting help because you think that stigma so thick that you're unable to do that. But, get out of yourself, get out of your own way, and start showing up for yourself.
Yeah, and the thing is, we all know deep down that stigma is not real. Because each of us knows if we were faced with one of our peers, even somebody we didn't particularly like, but they were going through this and they admitted to their feelings of shame and inadequacy, all that stuff. Would either one of you guys look at that person and go, "Ah, man, you suck. You're weak"? No.
We know.
Even if you don't like the guy, you're still going to be like, "Okay, you're a prick, but no, dude, that's not true. You're a good human." And so all of the stigma stuff is false.
Yeah.
It's just in your own head. It was in my own head. And when I realized, like, I don't care about that because I want to live, I was able to make progress.
Was that the same thought process you had when you decided to leave the fire service and go in a whole new direction? That's what something really caught my attention, because as we all know, some people feel like they're just stuck in this career. That's all they have. I don't have any other training or education or anything else. And I feel like I'm just going to have to go back and do the same old thing for the rest of my career. But Erik, you had some kind of a transition, and I'd like to know when that happened. When did you realize, I'm not going back?
There wasn't a sentinel moment. There wasn't a decision point. It was an evolution of my thought and desire. It happened obviously while I was in the program. And I think what it was a knowing in myself that if I went back into that same environment, I would probably not succeed. And I cared more about living than I did about a couple extra $100 a month on my pension. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't do you any good if you can't spend it. I saw it like a person who's struggling with sobriety, not going to a football party at a bar with all their friends. I saw it as, you got to change your environment. That's part of actually doing the work. And when you're in a place where your sobriety is threatening, or your lack of sobriety is threatening your life, I kind of chose between, well, which is more, do I want to live or do I want to go back to that job? And I was like, I want to live. And so that was part of my conscious series of decisions to say, I'm going to do the things that are hard, that take me where I want to be. And going back to work did not serve that. There was no like getting back on the horse type of thing. This wasn't a skateboard I fell off of. It was it was a long career. So Jim, to answer your question, there wasn't a moment I can identify where I said, I'm out. But what I did is I used that concept of having your actions match your values. And I realized that it's not always about changing your actions. Sometimes it's about changing your values to make them more realistic. And for me, that was changing the value of, still being a fireman and having that lost its importance compared to living well.
Love that. Hey, Erik, looking back, what are you most proud of? Not just professionally, but personally. Maybe we could round it off with that.
It's hard to put into a soundbite. I think what I am most proud of is that I've stayed in the fight. I'm moving forward, and I love myself. I'm proud of the fact that was so hard and is hard each day a little bit. I'm proud that I survived. I'm so grateful.
Great.
And I just, if I can help one other person see how beautiful life can be, the deeper that sorrow carves through your soul, the more joy you can contain. And the depth of my suffering, I'm so grateful for, because it allows me to live life so full of gratitude now. Going through it is hard, and the reward is unimaginably good.
Mm. I love what you said. Are you living or are you living well?
Yeah, and there's no special sauce. There's no magic bullet. There's no like, oh, I read this book and it changed me, or I had this religious experience that changed me. It's none of that. It's me. I did it. For everybody else out there like me, who's, God, if somebody sees this and they say, well, I couldn't be, fuck that guy. I couldn't be that. I couldn't be him. I'm not into his bullshit. Any of us can do it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, if you decide you're going to go climb a mountain, you expect to fail a few times. When you're going to do something hard, you don't expect it to be easy and go the way you plan. But you just stay in it, you keep working, and you find the things that give you hope and joy. And you focus on those, and you feed those, and find the resources and the people that can hold space for you and help you. And if you do all that, there's an incredible prize waiting for you, and you can do it.
That's great. Erik, you know what? The big thing I got out of everything you said right there is the biggest compliment that you could put to yourself is that I love myself. A lot of us can't say that. And that is such a great goal. That's what I want from you, right? That's what you say these things and people are like going, I want that. How do I get that?
Yes. And I believe that I have some insights, and I can tailor an experience that I can maybe pull back a curtain on some truths. That it's not like, oh, somebody told me this and so I believe it. It's, my experience is that it's simply somebody just shows me a truth and says, hey, look at this. And then I look at it and say, wow, that's true. And it's like I've known it forever. So seeing the truths I've seen in recovery they transcend all space and time. They feel like they've always been there now. And I think that's why I'm able to love myself. So do the work, find people like FRW, find people that serve your goal, and get out and fight for yourself like you'd fight for your kids, like you'd fight for something that you love so deeply. Fight as hard for yourself and your recovery because it's more important than anything you've ever done in your life. Look for truth, and an incredible thing awaits you.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Right on.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us, man. It's been a pleasure, and you got such great wisdom to share to everybody.
All I do is talk about what I've been through. That's all it is. And the cool thing is that I think a lot of times when you watch, it's like when you go to church and you see the pastor as this like milk toast white dude who's never been in a fight. His life looks like it was pretty chill. And he tells you about adversity. Whatever. I don't want to hear it. But when you go and you see somebody who's been just destroyed by life, and you see them talk about transformation, hope, and redemption, and you can see that they're really living in gratitude and joy, like, whoa.
You did it.
That guy was legit. Like he was in a dark place and he did it. And I want what he's got. I want that love and peace. And to get there, I think you do need people that help you, that lead you, people that help reveal truths that you don't see yourself. That's perhaps the best way to say it.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's what this community of support that we can build is sharing the truths that were revealed to each of us, and that all of our brothers and sisters can also see that truth and learn to know and love themselves and get in the fight.
Love it.
Yeah, brother.
All right, man. Jim, you got anything to add before we close it up?
Thanks, Eric. That was it was wonderful to have you on the show.
I'm new to this type of stuff, and I'm so grateful for you both. Jim, thank you for, I don't know you and your story, but I can tell that you're a man who cares and is full of love, and thank you so much. And Mike, thank you, Mike.
Man, you're welcome. You're welcome, my brother.
Thank you.
I love you, man. I love you, Smitty.
Love you.
You're a good man, and you are doing great things. Thank
And
you.
it's out there for all of us, just like you. You know, Mike, I saw you and your story, and I said, I want to be like him by turning my life into a spectacular, successful adventure. I saw you do it, and I saw it inspired me to follow my path.
That's great. That's great, man. I love that. That's all I wanted to do it for, besides myself and figuring out my life and passing it on. That's where the healing is, right? And knowing that you can overcome, you can get through everything that you've gone through. No matter what, you're going to get through it, and it's going to be tough. But life is just tough, right?
And I think it's so important. I really want to add to what you said and if you get through it, if you go through all of the pain, if you really go through it, your life will be like every inspiring movie you've ever seen. The movie's only good when the character is facing existential crisis, when they might not survive. And the deeper their calamity, the more inspiring the story when they rise like a phoenix and they get through it and they find joy. So again, the harsher your story, if you're still drawing breath into your lungs, you have the opportunity to live a miraculous story. The closer you are to the end, the better the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look to people who maybe somebody's listening to my words and they're saying, I'm at my absolute rock bottom. I say, good. And if it gets worse, all right, embrace it. Go. It's okay. Bring it on. Let it get worse, because you got to pass through it. And as soon as you can, start moving that needle in a positive direction. Start doing work for you. And you will climb out of that shit. And you will find that because of the depths of your sorrow, you're open to love and abundance you never imagined.
Good stuff. Just freaking reach out that hand, man. That's all you got to do. And then you have a bunch of hands just grabbing you and holding you through it, right?
Because those hands, that it's like the hug I was talking about, it's what, it's what gets you to just stop and catch your breath, know that you're safe in the moment, and begin to orient yourself. It's like an OODA loop. Begin to orient yourself. Okay, it's the beginning. So FRW saved my life. And
I love it all, man. I love recovery, and I love giving back and working with first responders and working on myself and keeping that balance. You can do it alone all day long if you want. The thing is, though, remember this: you don't have to. You don't have to, but you can. It's up to you, right?
And don't forget that those people that are out there offering to help, they really want to help you.
Right.
Like, you're doing them a favor by saying, like, hey, this sucks. Can you give me a hand? They're like, fuck yeah. they want to help you deeply. Oh, reaching out, it's not selfish at all. It's reaching out. You're actually helping people like us now who desperately want to help people.
Selfless.
Yeah.
Not selfish, selfless, or like Jim will say all the time, intelligently selfish.
Hey.
Yeah, that's a great word.
You heard
I love that.
Yes, I got it from him, this guy right here. I pass it around to everybody I know.
I love it, dude. That's awesome.
All right, let's take us home, Jim.
Sounds great. That man sitting over there, well, that's Michael Koch, one of my amazing friends and partners in life. He's not only a former police officer for a really long time, he's now a KDAC. He's been a KDAC counselor for quite some time. He works at First Responder Wellness in Newport Beach. And the other man across the way, well, that's me. I'm Jim McLintock, licensed marriage and family therapist, who was also in the emergency responder professions for quite some time. But the man of the hour, that's Erik Smith right there. He's from Australia originally, so come and say good day. He spent a mixed career as both law enforcement professional and in the fire service. His story is one that is so compelling, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to it, and we'll listen to it again. He's got a nonprofit. It's called Calm Seas Foundation, and you can find out all about it on Instagram and other social media platforms. Erik, thank you so much for joining Halt and Call for Backup. And remember the words of Mike Koch.
When you're feeling down, when you're feeling depressed, the world is against you, what do you got to do, Jim?
Take a step back, reload, relaunch, and halt. Call for backup. Don't get fooled again.
Nice.
How was that?
You guys are so cool. I love it.